Hello viewers, MIG TV brings you the September issue of Colors of India. We begin our journey on a tranquil note with a visit to Auroville, a sustainable township spread across the state of Tamil Nadu with parts in Puducherry. Then we head towards Fort Aguada to soak in the colonial essence of the Portuguese establishment. Following that, we visit Ghalib ki Haveli for a tour of the forgotten residence of the 19th century Urdu poet Mirza Ghalib. We also stopped by Murshidabad to indulge in the rich history of Hazarduari Palace. A detour led us to the calming backwaters of Kerala to enjoy the scenic beauty and cool breeze along the large stretches of lakes, canals and lagoons on the Arabian Sea. Auroville is an international township in the South Indian state of Tamil Nadu. It was built with the objective of attaining spiritual harmony and human unity. Home to 2,000 people from more than 40 countries and one of the very few areas on the planet that is witnessing a positive growth in biodiversity, Auroville is a place where sustainability finds a new meaning. From boutique shops to cafes, from nurseries to unique art shacks, the place will enchant travelers who are seeking peace and harmony. We spoke to Puducherry, who hails from Gujarat, was born and brought up in the United States of America, but devoted her life to impart the love of art and culture to the children in Auroville.
I come from the US actually. My parents are from Gujarat and I've been in Auroville for 7 years. So I'm a member of the community, and what I felt was needed here is art. So community art in particular is a really great way to bring people together. Auroville is about this experiment around human unity, and so art is a really great way to connect people, to cross all barriers and differences without language. So you saw people sitting here together making a mandala. So the name of my project is Sankalpa Art Journeys. It's a subunit of outreach programs in Auroville. So we focus on bridging the gaps between the communities. So there's the local community of Tamil people and then foreigners who come from around the world. I work a lot with local women and children. These are, really the marginalized populations, and it's always empowerment focused. So either we create a doll or create a mandala. We use a lot of indigenous art forms because they are familiar to the local people, so immediately they are comfortable with expressing themselves. And what I find universally is it's about storytelling. So people have a chance to tell their own life story, maybe difficulties they've been through, especially the local women, and they have a chance to see themselves in a position of strength, which is rare.
Simple living with high thinking remains the USP of this quaint hamlet that probably reflects a microcosm of the ideal world that we all long for but find impossible to achieve.
A popular tourist spot, Fort Aguada was once Goa's largest bastion of defense, controlling the entry of potential enemies into the state, which was then ruled by the Portuguese. It now has its entryway open for history enthusiasts, travelers, and even filmmakers. The fort gets its name from the Portuguese word agua, which means water, as the area surrounding the Aguada used to be rich in it.
I am from Paris, France, and I just arrived in Goa a couple days ago, and today I am visiting the Aguada fort because I'm actually fascinated by history, and I found out that the fort was built in 1612 to protect against the Dutch and the Marathas, and it's quite a beautiful place and I'm really enjoying it a lot.
Lending the fort's wells with drinkable water. Even today, one can see the wells inside, although in a dysfunctional state.
As you can see, the weather here is really hot. But if you really roam around, you see the architecture, you see the texture, you see the color, it's really amazing.
A 13-meter tall lighthouse, which was built in 1864 and later modernized, is a highlight of the fort and makes for a backdrop of many touristy pictures that capture the memories that people make here. Born Mirza Asadullah Beg Khan, he was popularly known by his pen name Ghalib. One of the greatest poets from 18th century, he wrote prose and poems in Urdu and Persian. A dear to the royalty from the era, he was included amongst the nobility of Delhi on the call of Mughal Emperor Bahadur Shah Zafar II, who also appointed him as the poet tutor for the royal family.
When you talk about Delhi, you can't really miss Old Delhi, which is such an integral part of the city. It's the heart and soul of it. And Mirza Ghalib is one of those figures who represented Old Delhi across the world, not just in the Indian subcontinent. And his contributions to literature, the intellectual conscience of the society at that timing is really commendable. Mirza Ghalib really has an impact all over the world, and he was prominent in Persian, so you have many PhDs being done on him in Saudi Arabia and all the Gulf countries, and he really has an impact over there. So from Agra he moved to Delhi, and he married at the age of 13, and he had 7 children. None of them really survived, and people say that that really had a very painful impact on him, and that's what's really evident in his work, in his prose and in his poems.
Ghalib wrote his first poem at the age of 11. Some of his finest verses are said to have been written in this Haveli, which was presented to him by a Hakim or physician who admired his work. In a crowded lane of Chandni Chowk in Old Delhi, this Haveli stands apart, as if still in its own time, from 300 years ago.
Situated on the eastern bank of river Ganges, the town of Murshidabad was the capital of Bengal during the Mughal period. The unique palace of 1,000 doors called Hazarduari tells us the infamous story of the last independent king of Bengal, Nawab Siraj-ud-Dowla, the betrayal of his army commander Mir Zafar, and the beginning of British East India Company's rule over Bengal and then the rest of India.
This museum housed in the Hazarduari Palace, this has some of the best collections of ivory antiques and the best weaponry and some of the best antiques of the British era. You can see one of the crown jewels is the 6 feet tall sword used by Siraj-ud-Dowla. Just think, a man of 7 feet height using a sword of 6 feet.
According to the locals, the royal cannon Bachawali Top was fired only once and produced a huge explosive sound within a radius of 16 kilometers, forcing most of the pregnant women of the city to give birth. Nizamat Imambara is the largest Shia Muslim congregation hall in India. The clock tower, locally known as Ghari Ghar, is also known as the Big Ben of Murshidabad. Katra Mosque and the tomb of Nawab Murshid Quli Khan is not very far from the palace. The most striking feature in the 2 large corner towers are the holes for the muskets. Some of the other attractions in and around Murshidabad include the Lake of Moti Jheel and the palace complex of Katgola. The architecture and history of these relics make them worth visiting when in the area.
With a lot of excitement, we start our journey from the famous backwaters of Kerala. We are near Alleppey, about 50 kilometers from Kochi, and on a luxury boat for a 2-day cruise.
Very pleasant actually, and it's very quiet. We are experiencing the nature and the typical Kerala villages and culture, food. Overall, it's a great place. I would suggest minimum 2 days is good because you will see the day and night and the entire day. So you can interact with local people and see different things. In the backwater, the whole day we're kind of sailing, and at night time they dock boat in a safer place, and we had a very quiet night time. The local food, usually Malayalis, they eat idli, sambar and chutney, coconut chutney. Coconut is the big thing. As you can see everywhere, coconut trees, and they eat a lot of fish, fresh caught fish.
After a good traditional meal, we cast anchor at a nearby village. Most of the villages here have a church. In fact, 18.4% of the population in Kerala is Christian. The market displays a number of handicrafts made of wood.
This place in the village is called, it's a Chambakulam. It's carvings in the shops in the gallery we are seeing. It's made from this village only. Different communities that belongs to 15 families or 20 families, and from each home they are making. It's commonly available wood is rosewood in Kerala, and we have the teak wood and the white cedar. And there are also variants like lime wood, mango wood, jackfruit wood.
Currently, more than 2,000 houseboats navigate in the backwaters of Kerala, using more and more eco-friendly means in order to keep the natural beauty of the site intact.
Visit us at www.mediaindia.eu.